Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another election prediction. Today, I will be doing an election prediction between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump in 2024. But first, I wanted to talk about how often I'll be continuing to make videos going forward. It'll probably become every 3 days, every 4 days as school starts for me. I'm obviously still in school. I'm in my senior year of high school, so one more year of that, and then obviously still have college. But as the workload gets up, it's probably going to be a bit harder for me to make videos, and it'll probably be slightly less frequent. However, I'm going to do my best to continue pushing out videos for you guys as we head into the fall. Um, so you guys are able to obviously continue watching the channel. And obviously, I want that to happen. I'm still going to be interested in paying attention to all the news and all that. It's just the schoolwork is obviously going to take up a lot of my time. And obviously, I do after school sport, which goes until 5. So just wanted to make that known before I get into the prediction. It's August 31st. As we get into September, the videos may not be as often as they are now, every 2 days. They may get to be every 3 or possibly even every 4 days, depending on my circumstances. But anyway, let's get right into the video. This is Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump 2024. So as I did a Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump alternate history in 2016 and gave Donald Trump a tremendous win, 2024, 8 years later, America has continued and will be more on board with having a socialist president. Obviously, 2016, I guess we were still on the fumes of the Cold War, and obviously still socialism, communism, just rung a really bad bell. However, Sanders won't do as well in states like Florida. Obviously, he'll do better Northeast, maybe even some of the Southwest. But states where there are Cubans and where there are Venezuelans and Puerto Ricans and all of those, he will not do as well. But anyway, let's get to the safe Democrat states. And obviously, with the polarization in the country, it has continued to be inevitable with the Sanders and socialist swing in the country. But anyway, let's continue. Obviously, Vermont, a safe state. And I'm going to put Maine's 1st congressional district as a safe state. Now, for safe Republican states. Now, I don't think Bernie will actually do I think Bernie will do pretty poorly in the suburban areas. I think that suburban women still aren't completely on board with that. I think it's just more of a countrywide approach. But I do think that suburban women will maybe not be as much on board. Obviously, Sanders still has a really good shot at winning states like Virginia and other states. I just don't know what margins he'll win. Iowa and Ohio will be closer, however, and the Rust Belt will be slightly closer because Bernie is more popular there. Bernie actually can appeal to some of the working class workers, especially the steel workers and the oil workers, and we'll get to that. But Bernie is a special case. Also, I'm going to include Alaska. But anyway, yes, Bernie is a special case at the moment. But anyway, let's get to the likely Democrat states. Colorado. Obviously, Bernie supports legalizing marijuana. Colorado obviously continues to trend to the left. Same with New Mexico. And Virginia, likely state, obviously still suburban, but I'm going to give it to Bernie by a likely margin. I'm also going to give Bernie Maine at large by a likely margin. Obviously, has that northeastern appeal from Vermont. Will still do very well in the Northeast. New Hampshire will still be closer, obviously a toss-up, but margins will be wider. And that is all for the likely Democrat states. Now let's move on to likely Republican states. The first likely Republican state, Iowa. Trump will still win Iowa by a likely margin. Probably 7 points, but it will still go to Trump by a likely margin, and Ohio will barely go to Trump by a likely margin, maybe 5.5, 6 points, as you can see in the description. I lay out what the likely, safe, lean, and tilt margins are, and everything above 5 to 15 is a likely margin. I still think Trump will win Ohio by that margin. I'm not going to include Maine second yet because of Bernie's appeal, but I'm going to include North Carolina as a likely margin. Actually, no, I'm going to leave North Carolina out for now. I'm going to put that in the leans category. I'm going to move on. But I do see North Carolina, obviously a more suburban state, going to Trump by the lean margin. So let's go with Republican lean states at the moment. North Carolina, lean Republican. Maine, second, lean Republican. Nebraska, second, lean Republican. Suburban area, I don't think it will vote with Bernie. And I think that Trump will win it back from 2020. Maine, second. Still a strong district with Trump. And he'll probably end up winning it by about 4 points. North Carolina, same margins, another suburban town. And Trump is still pretty popular there. He won in 2016, 3.7. In 2020, about 1.8, 1.9%. So I guess you can round it up to 2 or keep it at whatever you'd like. And also, Florida will be a lean margin for Donald Trump. Trump will actually do pretty well in Florida, considering Cuban turnout will be significantly up against somebody like a Bernie Sanders, Venezuelan, Puerto Rican, and obviously major gains made by Republicans in Florida over the last 4 years, with the Trump campaign having boots on the ground since his election in 2016. And I do think that that will continue, and Trump will end up winning Florida by about 3, maybe even 4 points, which is a very big margin for a candidate. Florida slightly shifts away from a toss-up state to more of a lean Republican state. Now, let's get on to lean Democrat states. A lean Democrat state would be Nevada. Still a Democrat state, high proportion of Democrats to Republicans. Uh, I do think Nevada will continue to vote with Sanders. I don't know that there'll be much of an encumbrance on it, given he's a socialist. The socialists have taken control of the Nevada Democrat Party, and we will see what happens in 2022 with the election there, the Senate election, most importantly, as to how well they do. But and then that will obviously be a deciding factor going to 2024. But at the moment, I still see Bernie doing pretty well in Nevada. He has appeal. He has the working class appeal. Las Vegas turnout will be up for Bernie. Another lean Bernie state will be Minnesota. I think Bernie will win Minnesota by slightly margin, probably 4 points. Obviously, continues to trend to the right. And Michigan will be a lean state. Michigan still trending to the right, but obviously the least out of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Bernie will end up winning that by about 3, maybe 2.5 points, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 points. Bernie will still win. Michigan has that working class appeal and is very popular in the Rust Belt, especially with the Democrats. But obviously, Trump still remains popular in the Rust Belt, as he did very well in 2020 in it for a Republican. And that's all of the lean Democrat states. Actually, yeah, I'm not going to include New Hampshire. I think New Hampshire will actually be a little bit close, pretty close, actually. But that's all for the lean Democrat states. Now let's get to tilt Republican, and obviously I'm going to go back and forth on this. Actually, I'm going to include Texas as a lean state. I wasn't sure. I still think it will go to Trump by a lean margin in 2024. It actually went to Trump by a likely margin in 2020, so it still is pretty far to the right demographically. Trump won it by over 500,000 votes compared to Biden. And I still think Trump will win it probably by about 3-4 points in 2024. It's shifting to the left, but not as fast as Georgia. But anyway, let's get the tilt Republican states to start off with. Actually, no, I think it'd be best to get to tilt Democrat states. I think Bernie will win Georgia by a tilt margin. Bernie actually has a pretty good black appeal, and I think that will increase turnout in Atlanta for him. Obviously, Georgia continues to trend to the left. Trump won it by about 5 points in 2016. Romney won it by about 7, I think, and McCain won it by over 10, and now Biden won it by 0.2% in 2020, so major shifts to the left in Georgia. Bernie will hold on to it. I don't know how much farther it will continue to swing to the left, but at this time, I'm going to give it to Bernie. He does have a black appeal, and it's shifting to the left, even though the suburbs will probably vote in Trump's favor, or not in Trump's favor, but more to the Trump side. Georgia will remain tilt Democrat for Bernie. Let's get to tilt Republican states now. A tilt Republican state, I see Wisconsin being tilt Republican. Obviously, with the shifts in demographics, Wisconsin will continue to go to the right. Trump will win Wisconsin. He almost won it in 2020, lost by 0.5%, won in 2016 by 0.7. Biden had a slight rebound, and Biden is honestly one of the best candidates for the Rust Belt, and he didn't even do that well. Bernie, maybe a little bit less than Biden, maybe even a little bit more. Trump will tilt Wisconsin in his favor against Bernie. Let's get to Pennsylvania. I think that Trump will tilt Pennsylvania in his favor. I think that Trump is going to win Pennsylvania by a tilt margin. Same reasons for Wisconsin. The shift is coming. The demographic shift. Those states will slightly patch in red as we go farther and farther into the elections, into the the third millennia. Or the 20th century or the 21st century, whatever you want to call it. Same reasons as Wisconsin. Let's go to a tilt Democrat state, New Hampshire. I see tilting Democrat. I think Bernie Sanders will still win in New Hampshire by a tilt margin. I'm not sure how much, but I just don't think he has that appeal that actually Biden had in New Hampshire. That Biden had a lot greater than anybody we've seen before. Hillary didn't have the appeal. Obama had that appeal. Biden running on the coattails of Obama. As we saw, Biden won New Hampshire by about 7 points, and Hillary won New Hampshire by 0.2 points. So take a look at that difference there. It'll tilt Bernie, but I just don't think he'll be that popular there. I don't think the people in New Hampshire particularly have the fond approval of Bernie when I looked at it. But, he will still tilt it in his favor. And we get to the final state. This state will decide who becomes the president of the United States in 2024. And it comes down to Arizona. Now, I think Arizona will actually be pretty hard for Bernie to win. I think that the Hispanic turnout will be much in favor of Trump, like Texas, like Florida. And I think that Trump will actually outperform what he did in 2020. And what I do think is going to happen is we are going to have a Trump comeback in Arizona for at least one more election. You will see a red Arizona in the 2020s. Donald Trump would win this election by the thinnest of margins, almost as thin as 2000 against Al Gore. That was 272, I believe. Actually, no, it was 271. I'm not even sure. It was literally 2 electoral votes away with Al Gore. And obviously, that is a very close election. This being one of the next most close elections in United States history. Trump defeats Bernie Sanders 276 electoral votes to 262, 30 off from his win in 2016. Trump goes on to become the 47th president. This is a very interesting map. You can see how Arizona turned red and the Rust Belt turned slightly more red against Biden. I don't think that Bernie would win against Trump. I think that Trump actually would continue to win, obviously very small margins. But anyway, I guess there's nothing more to say on that. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. We're at 120 subscribers. Let's get up to 200 by the end of the month. That would be great if that's possible. Like the video and comment if you disagree with any of my predictions or any of my calls in this race. And I will do my best to get back to you with an explanation or responding to whatever you have to say. But anyway, this is a very close race. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day. I'll see you soon.